Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the Future of Urban AI. This is a collaboration between Urban AI, a think tank based in Paris, and Cornell Tech in New York City. We're really pleased to welcome today Soledad Guilera, who is a member of the AI Policy Clinic Research Group of the Center for AI and Digital Policy, also Smart Cities AI and Government Professor at Torquato Di Tella University in Buenos Aires. And she comes to us with a tremendous amount of experience and knowledge in this area, heading the international expansion of Bloomberg Philanthropies What Works Cities certification program in Latin America. And she was an advisor to Argentina's 2030 development program and Buenos Aires City's AI strategy. Soledad, welcome to this seminar.
Thank you so much, Anthony. Thank you also, Hubert, and your teams at Cornell Tech and Urban AI. It is my pleasure to share with you a perspective on urban AI in Latin America. I would like to start us off by describing briefly the urban landscape in the region and highlighting some of the trends that cross all countries and cities and some of the challenges that the cities are facing today. Then we will move into specific examples of cities implementing AI solutions in Latin America. And finally, I would like to discuss the enablers and challenges for urban AI development in Latin America. So buckle up and let's dive in. Latin America is one of the most urbanized regions on the planet, with 81% of the population living in urban areas. As you can see in the slide, we have an infographic where we compare the urban population by continent in 1950 with the purple bars and in 2020 with the green bars. And when we look at Latin America, we can see that the urban population doubled, right? From over 40% to over 80% in only 50 years. And when we take a closer look to how this population is distributed across countries and main cities in the region, we can see that we have two very big cities that are Mexico City with over 20 million people in North America. We have Sao Paulo with over 20 million as well. It's 23, actually the most populous region. And then we have a second batch that has over between 10 and 15 million people. You see Buenos Aires in Argentina, you see Bogota in Colombia, you can see Rio de Janeiro in Brazil, Lima in Peru. And when I'm talking about these cities, I'm talking about the metropolitan areas, right? So the core center and the immediate surroundings. And cities, as you can see, have grown rapidly and they will continue to grow. This is a projection of the city population that it is expected and how much it is expected to grow in the different areas that we just discussed. And by 2050, 90% of the Latin Americans will be living in cities. So this rapid but unplanned growth in Latin American cities has led to challenges in access to public services, to mobility, congestion in the city centers, pollution, of course, rising housing costs and crime. Urban areas in Latin America have faced challenges in integrating newcomers from rural areas. As you can see in this graph to the left, urban population living in slums in different regions of the planet, mostly the global south. As of 2018, Latin America had over 20% of population living in slums, right? And the urban population with access to public transportation was around 50%. So consequently, poverty has become increasingly urbanized. This was in part due to inadequate urban planning and dysfunction in housing markets. So millions of Latin American households live in dire conditions, often at the outskirts of their cities, these areas that I was showing you in the map a few slides ago. So city dwellers who are less affluent often do not have formal ownership of their houses and their lands, and they also lack access to essential utilities. Part of it is explained because because of the stagnant growth in the recent years, and which has slowed investment across different sectors such as housing, water treatment, public transportation, energy, telecommunications, etc. And some of it has also been related to corruption scandals. I don't know if you recall the Lava Jato investigations in Brazil, which had a cascading effect in over 15 countries in the region. So consequently, there are major funding gaps when it comes to infrastructure spending, right? And not only infrastructure, but transportation issues also compound the array of significant challenges that cities currently face, where I'm going to point out some of these challenges so that we can connect some of these challenges to the solutions that I'm going to share with you, or the AI initiatives that I'm going to share with you in a few minutes. So when it comes to infrastructure, Latin American cities frequently struggle with deteriorating water, road, and bridge infrastructure, and public-private partnerships become key to pinpointing the areas that demand improvement and providing creative fixes for these issues, right? Then when it comes to transportation, it's mandatory that cities create efficient, sustainable, and accessible transportation networks. And it's crucial for all this urban population that is growing and it's projected to continue, right? And this is directly related to, on one hand, affordability, and on the other hand, equity. I know these two challenges or issues are not just for Latin American cities. I currently live in the Bay Area in San Francisco, and I can see how metropolitan regions are becoming more and more expensive as the cities expand, and it's making it harder for individuals to afford living there, right? And this is totally related to equity. We can see how some urban areas present these contrasts, where some neighborhoods enjoy premium facilities while others struggle without the essential services like I just described. And one of the key issues in Latin American cities as they become more populated and diverse is that the tensions increase, and so do security problems. So if you look at the priority in public policies, agendas around the region, you will see that safety and security are things where cities are investing and are really trying to tackle, because it's one of the most pressing issues. As many other cities in the world, climate change is also hitting Latin American cities, and they need to retrofit their infrastructure to respond to climate change effects, such as rising sea levels or higher temperatures and more frequent extreme weather events. And last but not least, if we're thinking about how technology can help us develop smarter cities and smarter policies, cities must engage with their communities and stakeholders further to understand better what their needs and aspirations are, and how they can generate better communication with their citizens, right? So their technology can also play a role in helping gather needs and aspirations from the residents. So let's explore now concrete instances of Latin American cities using AI technologies to address some of these challenges. Incorporating AI solutions into urban planning and management can lead to more efficient and equitable cities in Latin America. The key here is to tailor these AI solutions to the specific context and needs of Latin American cities, while ensuring that they are implemented responsibly and ethically, with an emphasis on enhancing the lives of the residents. Some of the tools that are being used in the area are AI-powered mapping tools. For example, cities can utilize satellite imagery and drone data combined with machine learning algorithms to help identify and map informal settlements or open dumps, right? AI can recognize patterns such as the typical roof materials or the density of housing indicative of such areas. And this mapping can allow for better resource allocation, targeted policy interventions, and integration of these communities into formal city planning and service delivery. Other applications of AI are related to 3D modeling for urban planning. So with AI, cities can process complex urban data to create 3D models or digital twins of cities, and planners can simulate the effects of different policies or infrastructure changes within these models without necessarily implementing, right? So it's beforehand. And this way they can save resources and time and explore with different scenarios. Smart surveillance systems are also very popular among Latin American most urbanized areas because they help enhance public safety through real-time monitoring and analysis, and they can have an impact in providing quick response times for law enforcement or emergency services and more effective crime deterrence. And lastly, AI chatbots can handle queries from citizens 24/7, providing specific information on public services, collecting feedback, or even guiding users through bureaucratic services. So this way, cities are more approachable and accessible, the local government, and can increase city satisfaction and streamline service deliveries. Let's take a look at the first type of solution that we discussed, that is mapping with AI. And this is the case of informal settlements in Barranquilla, Colombia. Right here, you have the map where this city is located. And by 2050, the population in Colombia will increase by around 28%, with the urban population growing in the same proportion. And this population growth will require the construction of 280,000 new urban homes per year, right? The construction of new housing has not been able to keep up with this demand in the past, and if it continues like this, it would never will. So thousands of informal homes have exacerbated the housing shortage in Colombia, and the government of Colombia has a national development plan that was designed between, it has like 4-year periods, right? 2018, 2022. And in that last edition of the plan, they created the Pact for Equity that aims to address the housing shortage, excuse me, through an inclusive housing initiative, enhancing the quality of the infrastructure in different underdeveloped areas. So through the National Planning Department, the government of Colombia assigned the Ministry of Housing to define the methodologies that would help them understand the problem and put an end to this crisis. And after analyzing different methodologies available to them, they decided to opt for the analysis of satellite images and the application of artificial intelligence models to try to understand how the different informal settlements were growing and where. And in 2022, with the support of the Inter-American Development Bank and the company GIM, they carried out a pilot project to apply artificial intelligence and generate detailed information about the informal housing in Colombian cities. So this initiative is called Maya. It's mapping of informal settlements based on AI, and it's an algorithm that automatically maps informal urban settlements through the analysis of satellite images. To start this, the Mayor's Office of Barranquilla provided high-resolution imagery and detailed data for algorithm training. Then the algorithm was benchmarked against expert-created maps, and it showed an 85% precision that was sufficient for targeting policy interventions. They developed this open source algorithm to assist Colombian National Planning Department in producing precise informal settlement maps. And the aim is to make these AI tools accessible for governments, researchers, and other entities for various applications. Yet, the need for expert teams and robust processing infrastructure poses a challenge or an obstacle to local governments adopting such technologies. And this is a paradox, since they are one of the institutions that could benefit the most from having high spatial detailed information, right? So we have to watch for this aspect of the initiative. The DNP at the moment will continue to apply this pilot to other cities in Colombia to acquire accurate and pertinent information and transfer skills to other local governments. The technology is flexible enough to adapt to local differences in settlements, and there will carry out periodic evaluations to identify the effectiveness and the monitoring of informal settlements. They are also promoting interagency cooperation that is vital for enhancing quality and preventing redundant work among offices and fostering holistic solutions. And of course, part of the success of making this solution scalable is to document in a comprehensive way the processes, the outcomes, and the impacts, so that they can share this information and learn as they fine-tune the model. Let's look now at another AI-powered mapping tool. This time we will discuss how drones and GPS mapping help identify open dams in Mendoza, Argentina. So we're using kind of the same thing, but if you take a look, we're addressing specific local issues, right? Urban settlements or open dams. So let me tell you a little bit about how open dams go in Latin America. Approximately 1/3 of the waste ends up in open dams, and only 10% of this waste is recycled, right? So they illegally accumulate waste, they lead to deterioration of soil, air, water quality, and this generates health hazards, right? The proximity to open dams generates specifically risk for the most vulnerable population. So it's kind of the same exposed population that we're talking about. And the increase in waste production, coupled with restricted municipal finances, poses great challenges to achieving proper waste management. So how can we use technology to help tackle this challenge? On one hand, they can control the spread of open dumps to, organize the information that the AI technology can provide. In general, these open dams expand without detection of regulatory bodies, and the lack of oversight exacerbates the difficulty to make informed decisions based on evidence, or even establishing impactful policies to mitigate these issues. So digital technology can allow us to obtain high-definition images and deploy drones to take on-demand aerial photos. The high-definition pictures taken by the drones also allows us to understand what are the components of the waste and identify key objects. So let me tell you more details about this initiative. In 2019, the Bunge and Born Foundation, that is based out of Argentina, decided to tackle waste management through technology. And they created this affordable AI-enabled approach to track the expansion of open dumps using satellite and aerial imagery. This was, again, another open source system that successfully identifies 95% of already documented waste sites, and the process of analyzing the imagery with the AI platform could be completed within 1 day, right? So it started saving time and costs to cities. In 2022, the foundation partnered with the city of Mendoza to deploy the landfill detection technology. The city of Mendoza was having a big spread of numerous micro dump sites. So they were too small to capture, and they had to adjust the technology that the foundation had developed to start working with aerial photographs taken by drones. The adaptation allowed the algorithm to detect the predominant materials in the garbage dumps, like plastics, construction waste, metals, and this was possible due to the high resolution of the images. So this innovation in this application was also key to help the city relocate these materials and have them recovered into the local recycling plants. And through the implementation of this monitoring system, the city was able to identify 1,500 open dumps, and that helped them enhance enhance their capabilities to refine the waste management approaches, and also the granularity of the data that they could gather was instrumental in shaping action plans and helping to accurately identify the most affected sites where intervention was a priority. Now let's talk about how cities like Curitiba in Brazil are using AI into their surveillance systems. Muralha Digital is Curitiba's technological shield for public safety that is a comprehensive security program. It allows for real intervention capabilities for crime prevention, emergency assistance, and public events management. The picture that we have in this slide is the operations and control center of the city, where they have 24/7 vigilance by different municipal guards. From this control center, they also have swift and coordinated emergency response by the Secretariats of Social Defense and Traffic Administration and IT, and they can use the imagery that they get through the cameras around the city for prompt responses in situations like floodings, right? So Curitiba's surveillance network includes 1,900 cameras in strategic locations for maximum coverage. They have different cameras in busy streets in the center of the city and neighborhoods, in terminals and tube stations, school units, and other public buildings like municipal parks and squares as well. They also integrate thermal monitoring, for example, in cemeteries, where the cameras are installed and they can conduct thermal monitoring and detect movements, even in places with complete darkness or in the rain or in the fog. The cameras that are installed in the bus stations perform facial recognition of those that are wanted by the courts and the police. And they have integrated panic buttons as well in women and for women and in schools that are integrated to the operating system, where the victims of domestic violence can activate them and get a quicker response. Muralha Digital has also played a crucial role in overseeing events like public events. For example, in the Carnival, the safety situation improved by 40% with the crime reduction rate. And they have been able to coordinate efforts with different municipal guards to deploy safety throughout these highly populated activities. And Curitiba must continue to strive, as many other cities, for the balance between harnessing AI for public safety, but also upholding individual rights and freedoms, right? And challenges ahead include, for example, privacy concerns. As there is continuous monitoring and data collection, people start to recognize that it can lead to unauthorized access to personal information or activities without consent. There is also data security concerns regarding how the vast amounts of data collected by AI surveillance need to be securely stored and managed to avoid any breaches of sensitive information. There are also things related to bias and discrimination. AI systems can inherit biases present in their training data or in their algorithms and potentially lead to discriminatory practices, as we have seen in other cities and examples. Accountability and transparency is also a challenge with this type of solutions, because determining who is responsible when AI systems make errors can be challenging in a way. And there can also be a lack of transparency in how these systems work and make decisions. At the end of the day, it all comes, the bottom line is public trust, right? It's how AI and surveillance actually promotes trust instead of eroding public trust, particularly if citizens feel they are being constantly watched, or if they do not understand how the AI operates or uses their data. So these are challenges that many cities are struggling with, and local governments should continue to develop policies and procedures to address them. Let's move now into the last two examples that I have prepared for you today. We have, they are both from Buenos Aires in Argentina. This is the Buenos Aires 3D City, that is a three-dimensional visualization platform that provides geographic data for each district according to the urban code and infrastructure regulation. This platform has offered detailed information about plans, land use, specific zoning details, and this has enhanced transparency and accessibility for all citizens. It has also helped streamlining construction procedures that before the implementation of the platform were seen as extremely lengthy and also unreliable bureaucratic processes. And it has also helped standardize and, as I was mentioning before, making more accessible the information that is needed to start a construction in the city. The overall aim of this tool is to turn Buenos Aires 3D City into the official platform to initiate construction procedures, and they still have to integrate this platform and the information with the city's remote desk help, so that people and organizations that want to process these permissions can actually do it through the platform. It is an open source software again. This is very interesting because all these solutions that we're discussing are open source and are available for cities and for private firms, investors, and researchers, right? And this platform introduces the digital twin concept, creating the virtual 3D model of the city's urban plan and for algorithmic analysis and predictive modeling. Let's discuss a little bit how this was developed. The platform is in constant enhancement to provide up-to-date, reliable, and easily information for all users, right? One of the key aspects is addressing user needs and data requirement to keep the platform updated, understanding how people are using the platform and what do they need from this platform, right? This is like one of the main goals and things that they have learned through this implementation. Another thing to highlight is the collaboration aspect. This was initiated by the Secretariats of Innovation, Digital Transformation, and Urban Development in collaboration with architects and urban development professionals. It also was developed in two phases. The first phase was to have an inventory of all the data that needed to be translated into a visualization platform. And then they created a 2D and a 3D visualization offering layered visualizations with various filters, right? As of now, more than 13,000 users use the platform on a monthly basis, and this is an increase of 218% in consultations, 88% decrease in the request for urban planning certificates, and also a decrease in the help desk consultation. All this information, accessible and transparent, helps streamline all these processes, and we can see how this is translating in reducing the time for approvals in construction projects and the bureaucracy and paperwork related to them, and the consultation and the doubts around like what's the latest, land zone and zoning code or different regulations that apply to different areas. This has really helped with that. And the experience was already shared with over 20 cities and 10 companies in Argentina and Latin America. The success basically lies on having a skilled team, financial resources available, and leadership support to ensure collaboration and prioritization of this information flow that needs to be up to date, current, and agreed by all areas, right? Let's move into the last example. This is Boti, that is the first city-developed chatbot for WhatsApp in the world. And it offers round-the-clock citizen services, and it has played a crucial role in improving the city's response during the pandemic. Here you can see a quote from Horacio Rodríguez Larreta, that is the mayor of Buenos Aires City. His tenure is about to end in a few weeks, but he had a clear view of the state needing to be closer to the people and not the other way around. So he has made a lot of efforts to make sure that technology was an enabler to facilitate the relationship with the government and the residents, and also the users. Buenos Aires has 3 million people living there, but another 3 million come into the city for work or to use the public services. And so it was crucial to streamline the way that the city would provide information and deliver services. And this was like his view to a lot of different initiatives that have technology at its core. So it was initially launched in 2012, and the platform was designed to assist citizens with hearing disabilities. And it had a dedicated team managing around 15,000 monthly interactions. The original chatbot was on the Facebook page of the city and also in the official website. It was a typical chat that was envisioned with this purpose of making the city more accessible to people with hearing disabilities. And at that point, people were able to ask these different questions about procedures, requests, appointments, and complaints. By 2019, the city transitioned to WhatsApp, and they capture all the different users from the online channels that the city had in different social media and its official website. So the city has been incorporating public information into this interactive platform, and people can find data about events, parking permits, access to healthcare centers, and much more. More recently, the integration of a natural language understanding engine powered by AI and machine learning further enhanced and expedited the service. So in 2020, Buenos Aires integrated the COVID protocols along with essential health and testing guidelines to bolster its pandemic response and keep citizens informed. BOTI, as it's called, could handle 3 to 5 inquiries at once, whereas human operators could manage only 1 inquiry per call. BOTI also aided in monitoring close contacts, symptoms of COVID, and the implementation of the vaccination strategy. Here you can see the image that you can see in the phone is part of the campaign that the city implemented throughout the different public spaces. And citizens could scan the QR code and start and be redirected to a WhatsApp conversation and check the latest measures that the government was taking to address the pandemic. As you can see on the right-hand side of this slide, these are the different topics that BOTI can handle today, from complaints to information and inquiries, urban mobility questions, information about well-being, healthcare, citizen management, and assistance and support to different populations with special needs. As of 2023, 90% of the city's administrative processes, inquiries, and bookings are available virtually, offering a straightforward and quick alternative to visiting a government office. And BOTI offers access to the top 30 most common procedures that people can do throughout the WhatsApp. Through this whole process of mapping the different procedures and understanding which were the most demanded and how to prioritize them, 48 non-essential procedures were removed and 97 were streamlined. So this has made the government work more efficiently. So I think that all in all, from the 5 case studies presented today, it's clear that Latin America rapidly urbanizes, AI presents an opportunity for positive urban development. When used effectively, it promises to transform cities on this dynamic continent into hubs of growth, innovation, safety, and inclusivity. And I think it's time to move on to discussing the enablers and challenges for urban AI development in Latin America. So let me start this last chapter. These are like a few slides left, but I think it's important to keep us thinking of where are the bottlenecks and where are the opportunities. to deploy these technologies in the region. The Latin American AI Index shows the reality of AI in Latin America, and it shows that it's very diverse and there is room for cross-learning among the countries in the region. As you can see in this chart, in green, we have the Latin American average, like the performance of all countries. And we can see that Brazil and Chile are the ones that are leading based on this index, with Uruguay, Argentina, and Colombia right after them. They are following and they are surpassing the Latin American average. This index is a multinational effort that is developed by leading institutions in research, government, IT firms, and multilateral banks that are operating in the region. And it collects information about the current AI developments along 3 key dimensions: enabling factors, which we will see in a minute, research and development, and governance. And they quantify and combine the performance of the different countries in these dimensions and aggregate data from open and comparable sources to assess the performance of the 12 countries. So let's take a look at the enablers of urban AI in Latin America. As we all know, data is crucial for AI systems, and its availability, usability, and governance are key to fostering a robust AI ecosystem. Conversely, the lack of data or poor data management and governance can impede AI research, development, and adoption. So the first 3 enablers that I want to highlight are the digital transformation, the data ecosystem, and the presence of data privacy and security laws. And let me give you a few comments about these 3 enablers. On the first hand, the region has seen a significant push towards digital transformation that it was spurred by the COVID-19 pandemic. And this remains, there was a little bit of a backlash in some processes, but I would say that mostly the adoption of digital payments and the way we now do procedures, or we can have digital consultation with doctors, sort of remained as a business as usual in the post-COVID era. Then the data ecosystem, compared to other parts of the world, we can see that countries have a reasonable but very heterogeneous level of data availability, capacity, and governance. And when we're thinking about the data privacy and security laws, there is enough presence of legislation evolving, but there is varied implementation across countries. So it's still an area under development. Then we can also discuss the startup ecosystem that is driven by increasing investment in the sector, the rise of fintech, and the emergence of new technologies. All countries, according to the index, show academic publications associated with AI, which indicates that there is cross-cutting presence of researchers in the discipline, in the content. There's still room for collaboration across countries in the region, but all of them have enough presence or seats in this regard. And when we look at the different policies, according to the observatory of the OECD, we can discuss that there are over 100 policies being implemented at the national, state, and local governments that promote funding, they promote AI development and implementation, education. So I would say there is an incipient, energy coming up with regards to the development of AI. Let's talk about some of the challenges to deploy AI in Latin America. So to take a look at the challenges, it's interesting to just zoom into the enabling factors and take a look at the subdimension details. The enabling factors are basically the infrastructure development, data, and talent development, right? So both Brazil and Chile, as we saw in the general chart, are the ones that obtain the best scores on their performance in infrastructure and talent development. However, the factors that influence their score vary in a little bit. And then Argentina, Uruguay, Colombia, and Mexico score marginally above the region. Again, here to the right, we can see the average for the region in these measures, and the rest of the countries are below the average for the three subdimensions, except in the case of infrastructure. So we could call out like these four challenges as the main challenges to deploy AI in Latin America: investment, infrastructure, talent development and retention, and data. And let me again give you a few ideas about what's happening behind these four challenges. In terms of investment, governments can play a key role by providing funding, initiatives, and a supportive regulatory environment for AI. This is, again, at its early stages, like everywhere, but we have had a broader investment issue, as I told you before. So this translates also into this specific area, right? Infrastructure, we discussed already the importance of investing in public infrastructure, and the region exhibits insufficient connectivity, and the download speed differs significantly within the region. And there is also poor access to computing capacity. So these are things where the countries should be investing more in order to enable AI to develop further. Then there is the challenge of talent development and retention. There is a lack of training and job retraining programs. I think that is kind of a worldwide challenge. And I think the competition these days is going to be for talent. So Latin American cities need to develop specifically the pool of talent that requires the development and adoption of these technologies. And even though we have seen, and I mentioned data and the ecosystem as an enabler, there is data around the region, but the challenge remains in the use of that data for concrete projects and impact. Okay, so what can we do to overcome these challenges? Let's start with improving digital infrastructure. So there's a need to upgrade and expand the broadband internet access and the cloud computing facilities. This will ensure that both urban and rural areas have the necessary tools for AI development and application. Then there's an important need to strengthen education and training. So countries and cities should invest in education at all levels, from primary to tertiary, and focus on science, technology, engineering, and math in those fields to build a strong foundation for the talent pool. And additionally, creating specialized courses and programs on AI, machine learning and data sciences at universities will cultivate the necessary people that is needed. Then fostering public-private partnerships is key. Collaborations between governments, entities, companies, think tanks, entrepreneurs, and academic institutions can drive innovation and share the financial burden for research and development. And these partnerships can also help in the practical application of AI in various sectors. Focusing on local challenges, we saw this today. Developing AI solutions that address specific local and regional challenges can ensure relevance and immediate impact. So it's not as importing solutions that are functioning everywhere. It's about thinking what our challenges are, what are the priorities in the region, and how can AI help us tackle those. International collaboration and knowledge sharing can also help develop the talent and the knowledge and the skills that are needed in the region. This can include engaging in international networks, participating in global AI research initiatives, conferences, and workshops to make sure that the people in the region are exposed to the latest developments. And lastly, developing ethical and responsible AI. I think it's crucial to make sure that the development of the technology respects privacy, prevents bias, and promotes equity. I think those aspects in all these developments are essentials. So in closing, the rapid urbanization of Latin America presents an opportunity for AI to play a transformative role in urban development, and it's our collective responsibility to ensure that AI elevates the global South, fulfilling the commitment to leave no one behind. Latin America and the global South at large must be an integral part of the conversation about making AI beneficial for all. And I'm deeply thankful for the chance to share my perspective with you today. Thank you all for your attention.
Thank you, Soledad, for such a comprehensive, detailed survey of what's going on. I think it's fascinating that you highlight just how big the urban development challenges are that the region faces, but that there's still capacity in cities to lead and to innovate when it comes to AI. I think this is a big step forward in centering the global South and particularly Latin America in this conversation. So thank you very much for that contribution.
My
I just want
pleasure.
to also point folks to all of the videos from the series are available at tinyurl.com/future of urban AI, all one word. And with that, we will bring the session to a close. Thank you.
Thank you.